Hi, it's time to take your first notes using Moodle. So we're going to get started today talking about metrics. Hopefully metrics is a review to all of you. And if it is not, you have always had a hard time with it. Hopefully this presentation will help you so that you are good to go for the future. So the first thing we're going to talk about is when we compare English and metric. So what I want you to do is look at these three conversions and figure out which one is the English and which one is the metric. Take a minute to do that, please. Okay, so which one is the metric unit, the mile or the kilometer? Hopefully you said the kilometer. The kilometer is the one that we don't measure with. That's a good hint for you if you need help to figure out which one's English, which one's metric. The metric one is the one that we don't usually measure in. So the yard or the meter, the same thing, the meter. An inch or a centimeter, that's right, a centimeter. Alright, so now let's look at some, what we're looking at in particular with this part is the length. So the basic unit of length is the meter. We represent that with a lowercase m. Please make sure you're careful with your capitals and your lowercase letters. So our metric units, a kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. A meter is equal to 100 centimeters, and a meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. So we're going to do this little practice where we're going to try and figure out which one is larger. So take a minute to think. Which one's larger, a meter or 105 centimeters? Make sure you use your conversions right here to help you. Hopefully you use this middle conversion right here, which is 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters, to realize that 1 meter would be 100 centimeters, so we're really comparing 100 centimeters and 105 centimeters. So obviously 105 centimeters is the larger. So now let's do the same thing for B, 4 kilometers or 4,400 meters. Which one is larger? Hopefully you use the top one. 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So 4 kilometers would be how many meters? Yes, 4,000. So 4,000 meters or 4,400 meters, which one's larger? 4,400 meters. I would like you to try and C and D on your own to see if you can do them. So take a minute, push pause, and record your answers. So the next thing we're going to talk about is millimeters and centimeters. Sometimes this can be confusing on a ruler. Sometimes the rulers will say centimeters, or sometimes up here they will have millimeters, and sometimes that gets confusing for people. The millimeters are always the teeny tiny little lines that I'm pointing to right now. The centimeters are the bigger ones, so the 0, the 1, the 2. The centimeters are the ones that have the numbers. The little tiny lines are the millimeters. Hopefully that clears up some confusion. So 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. There are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. So what I want you to do now is to tell me what the length of the line is in centimeters. Remember to not use fractions. We only use decimals when we measure in the metric system. And then the length of the line in millimeters. When you get to the length of the line to the nearest centimeter, we don't use decimals anymore for that one. It's just a whole number. Is it closer to 2 or is it closer to 3? That's what we mean by that. So record those answers on your sheet, please. Push pause if you need to. The next metric unit that we're going to talk about is mass. So I want you to look at these and tell me which one is the metric unit. Again, use the hint. If we don't measure with it, it's probably metric. So a pound or 100 grams? That's right, a pound is the English unit, so 100 grams would be the metric unit. A kilogram or a pound? Yes, the kilogram is the metric, the pound is the English. And the last one, an ounce or 1,000 milligrams? Right, 1,000 milligrams would be the metric unit. So mass refers to the amount of matter in an object. The base unit of mass is the kilogram, and it's represented with the kg. The metric units and conversions that we're going to use is that 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams, and 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. So we have the same kind of practice that we just did. Which one's larger? 1 kilogram or 1,500 grams? Did you use this top conversion to figure it out? 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams, so we're comparing 1,000 grams and 1,500 grams, so 1,500 grams is larger. The next one is 1,200 milligrams or 1 gram. Which one's larger? So this time I hope you use this one, 1,000 milligrams to 1,200 milligrams, and circled 1,200 milligrams. Just like before, I would like you to do C and D on your own. Push pause so that you have time to answer. So which is the metric unit? A liter or a gallon? This one can kind of be tricky because we do buy 2 liters of soda sometimes. But we measure in gallons usually, so liter is the metric unit. The next one, a liter or a quart? Again, the liter. And then finally, a milligram or a fluid ounce? Yes, a milligram is the metric unit. Okay, so the last metric unit that we're talking about is volume. Volume is the amount of space that an object takes up. We talked about how mass is the amount of stuff in the object. Well, volume is how much space that stuff takes up. So the base unit of volume in the metric system is a liter, and we usually represent it by a capital L, although sometimes you'll see it with a lowercase l. You don't need to worry too much about the standard. That's just there for some background information for you. Metric units, 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. 1 milliliter is equal to 1 centimeter cubed. So you might have seen cc's before, like if you've gone to the doctor and gotten medicine, or if you've been to the hospital, you might have heard them talking about cc's. I know they talk about it on some of those Grey Anatomy shows, things like that. That's just how they measure some medications, but this is the same thing as the milliliter. It's also equal to a gram if you're talking about water. Okay, so let's do the first one together, and then you can do the next 2 on your own. So 1 liter or 1,500 milliliters. Think about which metric conversion to use. Okay, hopefully you picked the top one here. 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. And so that would be 1,000 milliliters or 1,500 milliliters. And you know that 1,500 milliliters is larger, so circle that correctly. Do the next 2 on your own. Be really careful about number C. Pay close attention to your conversions. The way that we will measure volume in biology class most often is by using the graduated cylinder. That's how we'll find the volume of liquids and other objects. So you'll read the measurement at the bottom of the meniscus. You see how that has a curve here when you put it into the graduated cylinder. That curve is caused because the water is attracted to the glass or to the plastic. And we'll talk more about why it's attracted when we do our biochemistry unit. For now, you just need to know that there's an attraction. So you read it at the bottom. That's the actual volume. So when we look at this graduated cylinder, we know that 40 is here and 50 is here. So we count our little lines, and it's going by ones. So in this case, it'll be 41, 42, 43 is at the bottom of the meniscus. The top of the meniscus is 44, but we always read from the bottom. So 43 milliliters would be the correct answer. Please take a moment, push pause again if you need to write down the volumes of these liquids. Please make sure you know that there's a different scale on the different graduated cylinders. They're not all going to be the same, so be careful when you write down your measurements. We can also measure volume using a ruler. So to do that, we would just measure the length, the width, and the height, multiply those together. So 9 centimeters times 8 centimeters times 10 centimeters would give you 720 centimeters cubed. The trickiest thing about this is your units. So remember, when you multiply things together, you're also multiplying the unit, so it's centimeters cubed. But if we have an irregular object like we often do in biology, sometimes we have to get our graduated cylinders back out to take the volume. So if you look at this, you put some water in a graduated cylinder. This one goes up to 200 milliliters. So please record that here on the line that it says the amount of water without the object, 200 milliliters. We then put our object in, which in this case looks to be some sort of rock or pebble. It goes up to about, this graduated cylinder is going up by 20s, so it looks like it goes up to about 260 milliliters, so you would record that here. Then to find the volume of this rock, you subtract those 2 numbers. So 260 minus 200 gives you a volume of 60 milliliters. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk to you about then are the prefixes that you need to know in order to be successful. So the ones that we will use in biology are the ones that are in bold. The other ones that are here are there mainly so that we can keep place of where things are. So we need to know kilo, we need to know centi, milli, micro, and nano. Kilo means 1,000, centi means 100th, milli means 1,000th, micro means 1,000,000th, and nano means 1,000,000,000th. So really, really small. But we're talking about cells, we're talking about viruses. These things are really small, so that's what they're measured in, is micrometers and nanometers typically. So those are probably two prefixes that you haven't used a whole lot yet. So how do we convert from one unit to another? Really what we're doing is we're multiplying and dividing by multiples of 10, depending on how many places we're moving. So it's really easy if you actually use, if you actually use this number line. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you memorize the number line. For every space that you move, so if we're going from kilo to deca, we're moving 2 spaces. We're moving to the right, so we would move our decimal point 2 places to the right, or we would multiply by 100. So whichever way is easier for you, I sometimes find the number line the easiest. Let me make mention of this down here where we have more places, because remember that this was 10 to the third, this is 10 to the 6th, and 10 to the negative 9th. I'm sorry, 10 to the negative 3rd, 10 to the negative 6th, and 10 to the negative 9th. So in order to go there, you're going to move, milli is going to go 1, 2, 3 places, and then from micro to nano, it's 1, 2, 3 places. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're working out those problems as well. Okay, so here's our first sample problem. We're going to go from 3.45 kilograms to grams. So we're starting at kilo and we're going to grams. So are we going to the right or to the left? We're starting here and we're moving here. So we're moving to the right. So that means that you also move your decimal point to the right. So from when you go from kilo to hecto, you're moving 1 place. So that means you move your decimal point 1 place. So now it's 34.5. Now we have to go from hecto to deca. We move it 1 more time. So now it's 345. Now we have to go from deca to gram. So we move it 1 more time. So what's our final answer? Right, 3,450 grams. Please record that on the line. 3,450 grams. Okay, now let's go the other way. We're starting with milliliters here, and we're going to liter. Milli to liter. So we go, so hopefully you already know this, but the decimal point is located after the 6th. I'm assuming that everybody already knows that, but just to be clear, the decimal point is located after the 6th. So to go from milli to centi, we're moving this time to the left, so we move from the 6th to in between the 5 and the 6. So now we have 75.6. From centi to deci, we move 1 more place, so 7.56. And then from deci to liter, we move our final spot. So what's our correct answer this time? Yes, 0.756. 0.756. Please record that on the line. Okay, I want you to do these 4 problems on your own and see how you do. Remember, when you're going from milli to micro, it's 1, 2, 3 jumps. From micro to nano, it's 1, 2, 3 jumps. Good luck. Record them on your paper and make sure you go to Moodle and fill in the rest of your work.